Hello there, and welcome to another Villa Kino SWTOR Star Wars TV chat, where we like to jump on straight after watching a new episode of Star Wars on Disney Plus, jump into SWTOR, do some dailies, and chat about the new episode. So we decided, given the sort of topic of Andor, this week we'll be playing two of our smugglers, sort of being the closest kind of class here, playing on Balmorra, which is obviously a sort of a bit of a conflict planet here in
planet,
yeah. So we thought that'd be a fitting one. Balmorra is one of those ones where we like to do as part of the dailies. They're nice and sort of got a big long list of bits and pieces to do. It's a planet that we're pretty familiar with, so it's a good thing to sort of run as we talk about the new episode. So let's get stuck into it. Let's start with the classic industrial sabotage as we get started on the chat about tonight's episodes.
Yeah, so it hasn't actually been that many weeks since Obi-Wan Kenobi finished, really, but I don't know, I felt like we were counting down for Andor for a little bit in anticipation, and then all of a sudden it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it was here.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh.
okay.
Nearly jumped off the
one's going
edges.
down.
Yep.
So we were expecting, we talked about this a lot in our podcast before, this was created and written by Tony Gilroy. He had a lot of input on Rogue One. We're expecting a different feel compared to the other Star Wars shows, and that certainly seemed to be the case. We actually watched Rogue One last night in anticipation of this, and I think that was worthwhile. Just reminded me how much I enjoy that film as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Rogue One's it's a movie that has a lot of story to tell when you stop and break it down, but it does it without feeling like it's in bits and pieces. So yeah, we watched that last night. I was really anticipating how they would do Andor as a TV series. And it was certainly worth having a full 3 episodes. It would have felt like we were really missing out if we didn't have all 3 of those episodes in the first hit.
Yes.
None of those would have been good places to stop. I mean, it was hard enough stopping after an hour and a half. None of those would have been a great place to stop if we hadn't got all those episodes. So I'm glad certainly glad they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like especially with this one, I mean, we're familiar with Cassian, but there's a lot of new characters to familiarize ourselves with, new planets.
Yeah, and that first episode really sort of made you work a bit, to really concentrate to work out what was going on, and
Yes.
they didn't play with the characters' names that often. You had to just pay attention until their role was revealed.
Yeah.
So yes, interesting that you've got to do a little bit of work to find your way at the start. But the synopses between episodes were great. As soon as we got onto the first synopsis of that showed up before episode 2, which wrapped up season 1, everything kind of made a lot more sense. And they summarised up and they boiled it down to that level.
Yeah. And I feel like the first time you watch these sorts of shows, you don't know which characters to get fully invested in and pay attention to and learn the names and sort of really remember everything about them, and which is just going to be like a 1 episode character, especially when they're all so new like that. It takes a while to sort of boil down and go, okay, so, remember which one is which at the end of that. Let's go to Hit 'em Where They Live. So I've got like a passing memory. I'm kind of hopeless with names, as I'm sure a few people are. It's sort of like starting a new novel, and you're trying to sort of remember where all the characters, how they all fit together, which ones are going to sort of meet an untimely early end and which ones are going to be main characters. You're never quite sure straight at the start. It's when you watch a couple of times through and you're like, oh yeah, that's this character, that's that character, I get it.
Yeah, even the trailers aren't great at helping that, because they don't always play things in a reliable way.
Yeah.
In terms of who's going to be main or not. But I mean, it was interesting that when they did the flashbacks, they didn't have subtitles, and they didn't go into a lot of detail. That really took a little bit of time to unpack. That it took a few seconds to notice it was just kids.
Yes.
In the,
well, it'll be interesting to see, because I mean, we generally have the subtitles switched off whether you do like the English descriptive, whether those are like, you've got to go through and watch it and see if, you know, any additional the dialogue is transcribed there, or whether it's
I don't think
just...
it was necessary. I think it was
No.
It was giving a vibe as to his backstory, and it became quite clear that they were a self-sufficient group of kids. They were investigating a crashed ship that some disaster had befallen, and Fiona Shaw's character, some sort of scavenger, salvager, but also needed to rescue young Casa. That became quite clear even without a lot of dialogue, just with and I like that storytelling.
Yeah. So yeah, because in the trailer we couldn't tell one of these characters would be main. So clearly, yeah, the kids, and I like the little sort of the little nods to Rogue One. We know that in Rogue One, the Empire pretends that the destruction of Jeddah was a mining accident. In this one, it seems like there was an actual legitimate mining accident.
Yeah.
The fact that the planet seems to be pretty toxic. Oh, you're back there. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sort of doing it on autopilot at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, they're clearly telling, I think by the end of it, we'll know Cassian's entire story, because the point where they're starting his adult story is before he becomes an official member of the Alliance.
Yes.
To say he might be a rebel in spirit earlier on, but he's not.
Yeah, he's certainly got no love for the Empire.
But he's not formally involved in the espionage, as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
Until he meets Stellan Skarsgård's character, and that's accidental as well. He's got a set of skills, but he really just wanted to get off planet, sell material to get off planet to look for his sister in the first instance.
Yeah.
Not join the rebellion per se, but Stellan Skarsgård recognises his set of skills. What's his Skarsgård's name? It's Luthen Rail or something, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting, just my brain's going to be just jumping from thought to thought. We haven't seen anything of Mon Mothma and sort of the apparent sort of like Coruscant sort of city politics yet.
Focus on the corporate sector separate from the Empire is very interesting. It reminds me, let's go just respawn. Reminds me of the old Han Solo stories back in from the 70s and 80s, because they dealt with what they referred to as the corporate sector and the corporate sector police, to just tell a story that was a little bit independent from the Empire initiatives. I don't know if they borrowed from that intentionally, but I found that a little bit interesting. And obviously there's some fun elements to that story. The corporate sector police that we see there, they're keen, but they're a little bit outmatched when it comes to the people on the ground, as we see later on.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that Cassian's left the planet, it'll be interesting to see whether the story will continue to follow that corporate sort of security team forces, whether they're gonna like track him off world, whether that's the last we'll see of them. Same with the female character.
Bex.
Yeah.
I don't know where they'll go with that, because they felt
close.
Like they shouldn't quite abandon their stories just yet, but I'm not quite sure how they'll fit into the bigger story about the Empire.
Yeah, we don't know whether we'll sort of he'll run into them later, having discovered that they've like managed to get themselves off world and meet up in the Rebel Alliance or something like that later down the track, or is he gonna find out just through some news article that like that town was wiped out in retribution or something? Like,
well,
it'll be
it's kind of a big deal, because he left his adopted mother behind.
Yes.
Adopted mother Fiona Shaw behind. Andor.
I got the bird.
So that was a big move for him in terms of.
And the cute little droid.
Yeah.
Oh, that one got left behind.
It's fun seeing BT, both in his fresh form and in his beaten up form.
Yeah.
Different points in the story.
I always feel really worried for droids, you know, like, When there's like a threat of them being deactivated or something like that, you're always like, I've barely met this droid, but I'm already invested. I don't want him to be turned off.
Yeah. Whoops. Whatever there. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So B2 EMO, he's voiced and puppeted by one of the same guys that did BB-8, and also did puppeting on, I want to say Rogue One as well. Not sure what exactly, but he's done BB-8. So it's fun that the puppeteer gave voice to B2.
Yeah. We've got the champion behind us.
Oh, there he is. Sorting out.
And that mob over there, apparently.
Yeah, not our strongest characters here. I chose these characters. I don't know about you, I'm speaking for myself. I haven't geared this character since the latest level cap increase and gear increase, but there's not a challenge or anything. Let's go get by. But there's some interesting characters like Andor's friend that was going to cover for him without question. There's some people that
stood out.
Kind of got a feel for the community that he was already existing in. I quite enjoyed that. And that same friend later sabotaged the shuttle with the cable. So what are we up to? I'm still looking for access codes.
Yes, I am too. It very much, to me, just sort of reminded me of what it's like reading a new novel that's sort of introducing you to a new set of characters. You know that there's a familiarity to it, but you're sort of like figuring out where everyone's setting up, getting to learn a new planet and all that kind of stuff. It was really quite interesting. It sort of felt a little bit more removed from Star Wars, because we're used to seeing stormtroopers, and these were sort of like a security force. It was all just a little bit different. You didn't get the... Okay, we'll do this mob here. We haven't got the standard sort of villains. We haven't come across stormtroopers or Sith or anything like that. So
superficially Star Wars in the first sort of opening few scenes.
Yeah, definitely got a bit more of a grown-up vibe in this one. We got sort of allusions to sort of more the sort of adult underside to nightlife and what must go on these sort of planets.
Looking. Gotta get this gold out here.
Okay.
Oh, this goes in the way.
But I very much like the style of this show.
I'm also really, just on the whole, happy for Diego Luna. He seems to really... I know they don't want to be doing this stuff for their entire life, but he's a fun guy in person from what I've seen online. Invests in the character as much as necessary. It's cool that he gets to carry on that story in that way.
Yeah.
I've seen him in one or two other little other roles. I've got the codes now.
Okay.
I've seen him in random places. So the Terminal with Tom Hanks that he was on.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, you forget where you've seen people before, back before they were sort of really well known, or certainly before they had done Star Wars work, and then you recognise them, you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, clearly there's a whole lot more story that this was almost just setting the stage. So, just trying to break down from here, we're getting 2 seasons of Andor. The first season spans 1 year, starting at 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, and the second season has a few more time jumps in it, and every 3 episodes in season 2 is going to be about a year each. So we're going to bridge the whole story between Cassian's entire life. I'm just going to put some gear in here that I just got.
Okay.
Span Cassian's entire life. All the way up to straight into Rogue One, apparently.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that it had 5 BBY at the start.
Yeah. They straight up told us that.
Gives fans. Sorry, we're about to be joined. Oh, it went back out. Let me know when you're done.
I'm just going to bring down a crystal for when you go. Give me 1 second.
Cool. But yeah, didn't have too many sort of like gasp sort of moments. Not that you're expecting sort of like big reveals or anything like that straight out of the gate in a show like this. We've got a sort of a slightly longer setup period, and I think once we get the Empire more involved, we'll probably get to that. We will do Mandalorian Terror.
So we've still got some flashbacks expected based on what's seen in the trailer, because we know that we see both Phase 2 clone troopers and stormtroopers.
Yeah. So
presumably we'll see more of Cassian's story with Marva, and I think it might have been, I can't remember the adopted father's name.
Clem?
I think so, like but that seems too simple, but that might be it. Who is dead by the time we get to the main story arc, unfortunately. So there's a story behind that.
Yeah, I'm already like invested in this town and the characters and things like that.
Oh man, because well, look at the talent that's playing them. Fiona Shaw as the mother, Stellan Skarsgård. You know, not just people with other productions to their CV, but they're older, well-established actors with a lot of experience. That's really cool. They really brought a lot to the show with that sort of depth of acting.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to go do the bonus. You can definitely get the feel of why they filmed this on sets and locations and that.
Yeah. Yes, a lot of physicality and scope.
It matches the sort of production of a Rogue One quite well. It reminds me of the sort of Jeddah city streets where we have that attack on the tank. Towards the start of Rogue One.
Oh yeah, speaking of callbacks, it was cool seeing the I've known them as Carillion hounds previously.
Yeah.
In the junkyard.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that, and I'm sure we'll take some time going and like freeze framing all those ships and sort of bits and pieces.
I'm pretty sure I saw a full-on unmodified Y-wing in the junkyard. I'm pretty sure. The ship the Planet Hopper used at the start had like Y-wing engines, but I'm pretty sure I saw a full-on Y-wing in there as well. But not a lot of other really strong references in terms
everything
of
kind
technology.
of looks familiar, but not
without being just a straight up. There's a few people wandering the streets, a few aliens. There's an alien with the sort of prosthetic lifter armor that we sort of saw in The Force Awakens and Jakku. But it still feels like a different part of the galaxy, and like I say, we're talking about the corporate sector rather than the seat of the Empire.
It's still under Imperial rule.
Yeah, ultimately, but it's a little bit separate from the seat of power, so it feels a little bit removed. It feels a little bit different.
But you can see the sort of the Imperial mindset in that security task force, particularly the other one that comes in and kind of
chief, whatever, it makes reference to having to go off to represent, to make a report.
Yes, but the other sort of employee that the main sort of villainous dude talks to, and he's talking about the best way to keep a knife sharp is to use it, and talking about like the the stuff festers, and you've got to you can sort of see the mindset towards perceived sort of lawlessness that people in power have and are willing to use.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They're a small-town police force, basically, that are probably a bigger view of themselves than they really have, but they're outmatched on the ground, but
yeah.
Yeah, that guy's...
Well, you see how quickly they're willing to fire at people. They don't seem too fussed about actually just shooting at people without, you know, stopping really to think about it. So we sort of see the sort of the brutal reality that even if you don't have the actual Empire and Stormtroopers, the ones that they sort of delegate to sort of keep the smaller systems in line.
Yeah, I guess that ultimately think they've got the backing of that heavy hand if necessary. Ready for next.
Okay, let's do Colloquid Massacre.
What else did we particularly notice? I think we both noticed the interesting similarity between the blaster that Cassian's using and the one used by Kyle Katarn.
Yes.
Back in the old EU. So we've got to dump two of these in at the same time. I'll count them down.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, throw.
Yeah, I'm hoping there'll be some sort of, you know, book or some sort of thing that'll talk about, some of the details about like that. Because, it made me think of the old school Kyle Katarn blaster.
Well, we're not getting visual dictionaries for the series in the same way we did for the movies, which is a little bit of a shame because there's so much fun stuff going on.
Yes.
And this one more than it, just because of the size, we're going to get 24 episodes in its entirety. And
yeah, I feel like there's a little lore building. That was a very detailed blaster. It has a moving component that they featured on a couple of times. Very cool. Perhaps we will get more information by way of merchandising, action figures or whatnot. Sometimes they sort of list the names of weapons and whatnot.
Yeah, well, there's been a few figures revealed, a couple of versions of Cassian. There was I think it was STCC, exclusive version of Cassian with B2, the droid. So we see those for general release. That's all on the Black Series scale. And there's been some mega sets revealed as well, but the little corporate police dropships as a Lego set.
Definitely enjoying the I can pick these things up. The design, the locales. Definitely want merchandise of these characters.
Oh, probably gonna get that big giant chest over there full of treasure.
Oh, I didn't even see that around the corner.
Yeah, no, it actually struck me that we're not just seeing the usual monochrome plaster. They actually feature a little bit more colour in some of the building designs. You know, just the edges of some of the brickwork has a bit more colour.
Giving like the impression like the city was a little bit more interesting once upon a time.
Yeah, a little bit more of a little established culture and aesthetic. Right, all I got out of that was a single med pack.
Oh dear.
The giant cheese that big. I'm paying attention to what I've got. I definitely need more complaints from these guys.
No, I got 7 and 7. So yeah, it's one of those ones where I'm definitely keen to see more. I don't have quite the same gotta go and immediately rewatch it. Well, not for the same reasons. I think it's because there's so much to absorb. I want to watch it again
Well, I want to watch
to
it
get a better
just
feel
fill
for the
time.
characters.
I'm not
Well,
looking
yes,
forward to
the
an
gap.
entire week for 3.5 hour episodes again, or 35-minute, whatever we
Yeah,
are getting.
that's always.
Unfortunately, because we've just been spoiled with nearly, or at least a short movie length string of content.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that 3 episode hit. I think when Bad Batch comes out, we're going to get, I think, 2 episodes for Bad Batch in a little bit, but yeah, I hope the short episodes don't feel like they're, if we get, well, a single, when we go back to single episodes, I hope it doesn't feel like we're just getting into it when the content ends for the week.
Yeah. Like, I do appreciate the Netflix model of dump it all down at once so people can binge it, and then you get like a real continuous flow of getting into it, paying attention to who the characters are.
No, I was reading an interesting perspective on exactly that, because it's necessary for some types of storytelling. If the writers have strung something together and it is essentially just a very long movie that they happen to have broken into episodes, then binge watching is a necessity to really get the feel for it. If it's singularly episodic, just like old school serials in the 80s and 90s, then you can live with everything is bite-sized and circumscribed. But if you feel like you're not even getting a full chapter with a single episode, you can have 3-4 chapters, 3-4 episodes to get a chapter out of it, then it feels disjointed if you've got to wait week to week.
Well, I did notice that these ones do end abruptly. They don't feel like episodes.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
just
I mean.
Sort of like talking, doing something. Oh, that's the end of that one, and then we're on to the next one. It feels.
If we'd only had 1 or 2 episodes, then we would have felt really truncated.
It unfortunately gives the feeling of a movie that's been cut up into TV episodes.
Exactly, that's pretty much what I'm.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know that when you sit down and you watch it all together fluidly, you don't notice that, but week to week, that's going to become a bit more, not jarring, but
it's not as satisfying.
A little frustrating. Yeah, and I know that people had feelings that perhaps Kenobi would have been best done as a movie, and I know that Disney wants people to stay subscribed to Disney Plus for longer than just subscribe for a month and then ditch it, but not cutting out
pick
content.
And choose which stories you do that with.
Yes, and deliberately film them with that intent. Don't just go, we know that people will stay subscribed for Obi-Wan, so let's cut it up. And yeah. I liked way back with the micro series when they basically did for the DVD, they put all the episodes together with the with the credits cut off.
Yeah.
So it all just flows. And I kind of wish that they would do that for Disney Plus. But once these things are all finished, edit them all together so you can watch them without the credits, and then just do the big credits all at the end. Because some of them, like comparing some of the other Disney content, they did the little Groot shorts that they put up. They're all listed individually, which is weird because they're all like quite short because there's almost no dialogue in them, and they're all listed individually, so you got to skip from one to the next, and they all show up as like an individual item. And then the Cars ones that they dropped, Cars on the Road, they did those all together because they follow a storyline. But then you're still sitting through credits that, to be honest, are nearly as long as the actual content itself. And it seems weird that they don't just like go, okay, here's all the episodes, but then here is just all of them put together all in one go, if you're just going to sit down and watch it all in one go. It seems weird not to give people that option.
Well, small nitpicks on the whole, though, because it's just nice to get stuff as much as we're getting.
Yeah.
To say.
Yeah, that's just perspectives on formatting. I know that there's always going to be some fan that will edit these things together to sort of flow in one run. We saw that with Obi-Wan. Really happy with Andor. It's always just one of those things where you just sit down and you go, I wish there was more. I wish you just let me sit down and watch the whole thing. But yeah, I guess I'm still not sure how invested to get to these characters. We're not sure how many of them we're going to see again. Because of where that point was. It always is weird when they're like, oh, instead of giving you 2 episodes, we're going to delay it and give you 3. I can't imagine why they would have just given us 2 episodes. That would be a really jarring place to leave it.
Yep, definitely.
So I'm never sure if they, like, whether somebody was sort of arguing with the higher-ups going, no, you need to give them 3 episodes, this is where the cut needs to be, and they're like, well, we still need to make this air date, so let's just change this around and do this. Like they...
No, I think it was a rational decision to give us 3 episodes, and that probably came from someone who recognised that.
You're going to get some weird reviews of people that just where it just cuts off.
As a treat, as a bonus, and as a compensation for the delay. But I think it was just a necessary smart decision on the whole.
Yeah. I don't know why they couldn't have launched it on Disney Plus Day. I always felt like should have been more on Disney Plus Day. The 9-minute treat was fun, but it was essentially a trailer. They're going to make a big song and dance about continually celebrating the day that Disney Plus launched, then actually give us content from all of the arms, you know, give something from Marvel, something from animation, and something from Star Wars. Rather than just a trailer. So I'm just going to do some tidying up here. There we go. We'll do probe droid intel, shifting priorities.
So it's fun to watch and fun to reflect on. There's a lot of like minute detail to really break down.
There wasn't a lot of light-hearted moments in this one. I'm wondering if we're going to get a little bit of sort of the K2SO humor moments in this one, to sort of make it match with Rogue One. Because there's obviously some dark sadness in Rogue One, but K2SO added those sort of little moments, which we haven't quite had in this one yet.
You gotta try and get the bonus in this one.
Yep. So I took out those 2 guys.
Yep, it's not follow path number C. There it goes.
Yeah, I cut through past this big building, and then you do the bonus out the back.
Look at this gold.
Yep. Hang on, I'm
Oh, sorry.
making me run slow through the acid.
It used to hurt a lot more than it does now. That
Yeah.
all those things back to make it much more survivable, I think.
I still don't know how much it damages my armor though.
Nah, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I didn't take my usual notes like for The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, I would take notes each episode as we were watching it first time around, so I'd remember little things. But this one, I was like, for 3 episodes, I'm going to be sitting here taking notes like the entire time. I'm not really going to be able to watch it well enough.
This one needed concentration and focus. Like,
yeah,
just
so much new stuff I needed to be able to sort of figure out what was going on. It's going to take a little bit more to sort of go through the details, I think, even with a second watching. I always remember this platform. Years ago I got stuck on it and logging in and out wouldn't unstuck me. That's crazy. Ooh, is that a token? Is that... Who's gonna get it? Oh, it's a gift. I got a purple gift.
And so we're expecting to see a lot more Imperials, but we're expecting to see a lot more specific, interesting scenarios. Yes, and disguised as an Imperial, there's that sort of a jumpsuity ensemble that a whole bunch of people are wearing in those corridors with bare feet. I don't know what the heck that's about.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it was going to be like the sort of thing where everything you see in the trailer is from the first couple of episodes. I thought it was going to be an instance like that, and we're sort of getting through going, I don't think we're actually going to see a lot of what's in the trailer.
I'll tell you what, having just come off Cadomi and watching Andor again, really, that's not been shown in any way, but I'd love to see Bail Organa in this timeline.
Yes, I was thinking about that watching Rogue One. I was like, ooh, come on, put him in there.
Speculated on what's that?
Like, yeah, like stick him in there when we're like on Coruscant, or like just in like a...
Speculated on wished for it back when we were watching Cadomi, but I've completely forgotten how visible he is in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And some of those other Rogue One characters would be fun as well. Draven and Blue Leader and Merrick.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking the other day about because we know that Saw Gerrera was like more involved with the Rebel Alliance before he splinters off, and they're, having to resort to basically, kidnapping Jyn for a introduction. Like we see him in the trailer, so he's gonna have to be sort of involved with the Rebel Alliance enough to see Saw Gerrera in that early stage before Saw has sort of
loses his
way, as it were. Yeah. So it'd be fun to see who else we might see. There's a couple of prominent characters in Saw's group. I like Two Tubes. And then certain characters in the Rebel Alliance, like Moroff and Pow and some of those other ones. I think that they would be fun, even if they're not speaking roles, just like stick them in the background,
Yeah, Bastan was...
Yeah, that's the other one I was trying to think of. I'm always thinking of the characters that you use a lot in Galaxy of Heroes. You get to use them. Pow is quite an important character. He's part of one of the main teams that you put together with Mon Mothma, because he gives everyone like lots of moves, which is kind of funny because you put him in a team, one of the really good teams. Sorry, talking about another video game. In a really good team, you put Mon Mothma with a couple of the Rogue One guys and Kyle Katarn, which is kind of fun. That's a team that people tend to put up.
Oh, yeah.
We just got to kill some more people before we grab the last one.
Somehow I'm only at 6. I must have not finished the cast or something.
Got 7 out of 8. So yeah, we'll grab some people over here. But yeah, I want to learn more about the details, like weapons, speeders, all this kind of stuff. I mean, every show that we get, every sort of standalone movie is adding so much to Star Wars lore in terms of merchandising, just things to remember, you know. Like, at first I didn't know what ship that was crashed on that planet when in Catherine's youth. I was like, okay, you know, what kind of... And that one didn't give us an exact time frame for it as well. So it was interesting when his mother said something like the Republic will be here soon or something like that. Yeah. That, we're not up to the... I mean, wasn't expecting it would be up to the Empire yet, but I didn't quite recognize the symbol on the arm. I'm not sure what sort of scenario, because, you know, we were guessing that perhaps, you know, that perhaps the Empire had shot the ship down or something like that for sort of, you know, if it's... We assume, like, at the start, your brain is like, oh, it's an Imperial mining planet, perhaps, you know, mining the facilities for Imperial Star Destroyers, but based on the timelines, I'm guessing it's probably mined to make, I guess, Republic ships for the Clone Wars.
Well, yeah, building the army.
Yeah.
So it's the seeds of the Empire, effectively.
Yeah.
But,
I'll have a look.
yeah, I mean, if they're referring to the Republic, I'm interested
this
how
one's
they treat
respawned.
things. Yeah.
Because there was a look on the faces of people when, towards the end of that last episode, where they're all kind of like looking around, realizing that this sort of security force has, you know, just caused havoc. Whether there's a sentiment that we'll see talked about or displayed in this show, where people don't like the Rebel Alliance because they think they're causing trouble. That by having conflict with the Empire, you're actually going to bring about sort of devastation and death than if you just play nice and let the Empire do their thing. It'll be interesting to see if the locals, if we go back to that planet and see them, whether they are basically like, you did all of this, you should have just left well alone, and now these people are dead and the Empire's here and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, the sort of the topics that we've seen touched on in other shows.
That's the whole essence of Andor's story and Rogue One's story, is that even the Rebel Alliance has to do dark things. In the name of the bigger picture, and you know, Andor himself admits to having done.
Yeah, well, that line, I was thinking about that. You're not sure how that conflict is going to go when he's sort of cornered in the alleyway, but he just straight up shoots him in the head, even though the other guy's like, hey, it could have gone down like this, you know, and I'll just escape and say that this happened and it'll be good. And you can see him. So he shoots him. And so, you know, we saw obviously at the start of Rogue One that he's willing to kind of tie up loose ends for the greater good. He's not doing it for the greater good as such. He's doing it for his own sort of protection, and he obviously takes those methods. But it's interesting, sort of following. You know, we generally think of everyone in the Rebel Alliance as being, you know, on the light side, sort of like, because we think of them as being very Jedi aligned, you know, that you wouldn't kill. So it's interesting kind of really getting a bit of a gritty hero that is, you know, we're going to see all the things that he's had to do to survive. Obviously, he's had a pretty rough start in life. We'll do the last one.
Yeah, we might as well. That'll give us time just to wrap up loose ends in the conversation, and we'll probably call it after it finishes. This one's quite a last one. It's basically the equivalent of 2, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got 2 bonuses.
2 phases.
Yep.
But that's fine. It's all arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
like Stellan Skarsgård's ship.
Yeah.
On the side, with a cool design. Brilliant features and some of the details, but looked like a little bit more of a classy model than the standard freighter.
I'm always excited when actors, sorry, it's just a random thing, when actors I like show up in Star Wars. I've always liked him. He's just got a very distinctive sort of presence, and his accent is one of those ones like Diego Luna's accent. You know, you can just hear them say just about anything, and it's just a fun accent. I did appreciate the variety of accents in this one. Obviously, it's filmed in the UK, so we had some sort of, you know, traditionally sort of Great Britain aligned accents. I like that people aren't sort of having to talk in a sort of a made up way.
Yeah.
I was gonna look up like the one that sits next to Stellan Skarsgård on the taxi, as it were.
Yeah, the bus.
He was distinctive. He was fun.
Yeah, that was quite fun interaction, actually. It looked like he was going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it was actually fairly amicable and fun in the end.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, and the shuttle kind of reminded me of the one from episode 2.
Yep. Just a little
the Star Wars bus, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's another one of those ones where it looks like it's seen better days. Like it's got like an interesting paint job, but it's, you know, obviously run down. I really do wish that they did more. Even if you're not going to publish books, just like, you know, give the fans that like to know all the details, you know, this is this class of ship, and just give us all the names, all the random visual dictionary stuff, you know, where they list like, oh, such and such's outfit is made from this cloth that they got from this planet, you know, like the little random tidbits of information. And I'm just like, yeah, like I kind of want that for all the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, one of the
because you know somebody's sitting down figuring this out while they make the show.
Yeah, they made reference to the planet Wabani.
Yeah.
Wabani Run, which is a Rogue One planet.
The sort of the
prison planet.
Yeah, where
prison labor, at least.
Where they intercept Jin and rescue her. Because yeah, I know it's fun when they add new planets to the sort of Star Wars lore, but sometimes it's fun just to see familiar places.
Yep.
You know, like this is set on yet another new planet. And I know that gives them, you know, free reign to build the sets however they want, use existing locales and things like that. They don't have to sort of, you know, jump through hoops to make it look like a specific place that's already established.
Well, they don't have to, but it's a lot of work going through anyway. So in the chat, David's just joining us. Hey, David.
Hello, thanks for joining us. But yeah, I'd be curious to see if we actually go back. Oh, I've hit the other ones.
There you go, the plans here.
Yeah, that was one I didn't actually know that would get them on this planet.
It's an Imperial that was holding that one. Was a bit suspicious. So that was a reputation token for a underworld gang being held by an Imperial trooper, Imperial officer.
At least at this time of the year, these episodes air, I mean, under normal circumstances, where there's just one of them, where we can, like, yeah, watch it a couple of times before going to bed.
Yeah, and we get to do this as well.
Yeah. Later on in the year, after daylight savings, things change up a little bit.
Yeah, start at 9 o'clock.
Well, I don't know if it switches a little bit in between. It's like
Oh
we
yeah,
hit
there's a
daylight
delay
savings than
a week
Americans, so I don't know
well, because we
whether.
haven't had continuous episodes, so
Yeah.
but we can keep getting it. We're going to have episodes over that bridge to summer.
Yeah.
So we probably will see an 8 o'clock phase and a 9 o'clock phase. If you've just joined us in chat, we're just finishing off a couple of quests here before we wrap up, but this will be recorded. This will be available on the Twitch for viewing afterwards if you just want to catch up with the conversations we've been having.
Yeah.
And we'll do the same thing again next week. We try and jump on. We try and give people, time to watch it if you're able. We're fortunate enough to be able to watch it as soon as they become available. At the moment, they're clocking in pretty consistently for Obi-Wan. In fact, almost perfectly consistently. They were 10 minutes early.
Yeah. Which I don't
8,
know.
9, 10 minutes. And it's the same thing with today. So we actually got onto watching it ourselves at fully 10 to 7.
Yeah. Which is curious.
Try to leave enough time for people who only start watching on the hour or just after to get into chat and have conversations with us. But so we usually start about 15 minutes or so after it's all wrapped up from a single viewing. Yeah. So someone in the SWTOR group who's traveling at the moment, I think he said he was in Hawaii, but he still fortunately was able to log in and be recognised as having a Kiwi account because
oh yeah, you're not sure whether it was
watching while traveling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what time zone Hawaii would be getting it in?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I loved it. The suspense kept building, and I love that droid. Yes, yeah, we were talking about how the fact, we'd only just met the droid, and already I'm, stressed that they're going to pull its core and deactivate him.
It was good suspense overall. You make a good point. It was a good story that didn't know where. I guess you kind of know where it's going because ultimately we know.
But I think
that's of the story. But
I think that's one of the fun things that
it was
I didn't.
Engaging.
Well, that's the thing. When we're introduced to new characters, we don't know. We know Cassian's not going to die, but that's the only one. Well, and Mon Mothma so far. Everyone else is new, so there is the sense of peril. We don't know if they could be, executed or something like that, which is something that I think we haven't had quite as much.
But even given that, we didn't know what path everything was going to take. We didn't know what the corporate sector forces were going to get up to. We got to do this one again. This one only works for one of us.
Oh, okay. No, all good.
I think it happened last time. We wasn't sure if it was a bug, but there seems to be a pattern. A couple of these phases, since a recent update, only work for whoever walks in the door first.
All good.
Remember that. God, it's a shame because you can't get out any faster.
Not unless you got rocket boots.
Well, I don't think probably already some out there. People have made 1-to-1 scale B2 EMOs.
Oh, sorry, this is the phase door.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think. Yeah, it's certainly a little bit of an easier one to build, isn't it? You can run in through this door.
I'm lost.
Oh, you go through. Click on the
and
thing.
then up.
Yep.
Yeah. That's my face now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's straightforward because it's quite beaten up. So,
Surprisingly, not as many other droids. But I guess
we saw
I don't know, because this is post Clone Wars. We don't know whether we're going to see that sort of A New Hope animosity towards droids in general. But people are just not the fondest of droids.
Sort of automated transport, sort of carrying things around and just service level droids.
Yeah.
I think there was one protocol droid at the bus stop.
Yes. Yeah. Not really featured, but yes.
No.
Sort of had its back turned.
And somewhere I saw a droid that vaguely reminded me of Ned B, but wasn't as heavy duty as him. Can't remember exactly where that was.
Haven't seen quite as many recognizable aliens on this planet. Like sometimes they go and put, like a Rhodian or something in there just to go.
No original trilogy. There's a few reused, not just subtly in the background.
Marva's character intrigues me greatly.
Yeah,
Yes.
Fiona Shaw's great. She's independent, clearly very independent, and surviving.
Yeah.
On her wits in the past.
Yeah. Again, one of those characters where you see them in the trailer and you're not quite sure how much significance, they're like, oh, this could be like somebody that you just see like in one random shot, or they're a major character. I definitely want to know more about her. I hope that Cassian has the opportunity, because we know ultimately once he sets off on the quest with Jin, he doesn't get home again. So I hope that
Makes peace.
yeah, she rescued him and gave him a life, even if it is a bit of a how much most people can have a life under the rule of the Empire. But she's fascinating. We obviously, she's sort of brave going onto this planet and scavenging, and immediately knew that he was at risk and decided to take him and look after him. We don't know how much else backstory we'll get of Cassian. We've kind of got the major components of how, his upbringing.
I think we will, because just being picked up and rescued like that doesn't really satisfy the comment that he's been in the fight since he was age 6. He's got to be exposed to conflict a little bit more, I think, as a 6-year-old, to sort of fulfill that history.
Yeah. David says, but where she warns the cops worry when the drumming stops. Yeah, she's definitely quick-witted, and it worked, because as soon as the drumming stopped, they ran. They left her alone. She'd gotten them riled up enough that the anxiety, and I think it's the one that's in her room that takes off for the ship. I think. I gotta go back and watch it, but because obviously one of them gets so freaked out, they go and grab the shuttle, which has been sabotaged, and sort of crashes in, and then that kind of it gave me that sort of that moment where they're not really. You can kind of get that sense where the security team's all a little bit sort of puffed up. They don't like, they think they know what they're doing, but they don't really know.
From the get-go, they looked a bit like a motley crew that had never seen anything really serious.
Yeah.
They didn't feel
the leader
fully regimented
seems
or disciplined.
like he's one of those people that seems like he's fully sort of on board with the doctrine, but hasn't really gotten his hands dirty. He always sort of seems just a little bit out of place when he's on that planet, as opposed to in the sort of the office, where he's sort of barking orders and it's all very prim and proper. Figured we'd just run out here and shoot some droids.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've forgotten about that little interaction. That was quite cool. No, she definitely seems like someone who doesn't take any crap from the bad guys or from Cassian, for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, when he comes home and she's like, sort of, she knows what's gone on, wants to know what he's been doing, and who knows. It's obviously sort of supposed to be a big secret where he's from.
Yes.
There seems to be, like, the fact that he came up with a fake planet even before this. Be interested to know if there's something more to that, like there is additional reasons for them to lie about which planet he's from. I thought that was a bit intriguing. Like on his Imperial record it says he's from this planet. I'm like, well, I guess just the fact that, it was essentially thieves and scavengers that rescued him off that planet, if it was made public knowledge that he was born on that planet, that I guess would attract a little bit more attention.
Well, if there was a cover-up on for the mining accident, whatever that may be, they might not be fully aware how many kids survived, and who knows what about the story. They
Yes.
it might be a loose end that the higher-ups don't want the galaxy to know about.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that from right out the gate, he's looking for his sister, which I thought was interesting. We don't really get a sense of his family in Rogue One, which I guess gave the showrunners freedom to really sort of create for this show. We know he's been in it since he was 6, but that doesn't necessarily mean that his family was killed when he was 6. We just know that, yeah. So I think that, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know whether the show or Cassian will explain what exactly happened on that planet.
I think we'll get more. I don't know. I'd like to think we get a bit more of a hint.
Yeah, as to what happened and why there's only seems to be a handful of kids left. And I don't know why. I guess it was because of Rey and her staff. I was expecting their sort of staffs to just be used for combat. I don't know why it sort of took me by surprise that they were sort of blow dart tech. I thought that was interesting. So clearly there is some manner of poison available to the kids on the planet that they have fashioned formidable weapons out of it. I assumed that the girl that was shot was killed.
Yeah.
She didn't look like she was going to survive that
No.
blaster hit.
No, I think when they turned her over, that was it. Alright, well, we might be wrapping it up at about this point, having cleaned up this planet.
David says, Cass should have shot that leader. It will cause problems later, methinks. Yes.
Well, I kind of hope so. I want to just see a little bit more interaction there.
Yeah.
It's going to cause problems for him, but it'll be an interesting story.
Yeah, it's a very, very fascinating character. And I was like, well, the sensible thing would be tie up loose ends like he did with the other two. But at the same time, I want to see more of that character. I think he's intriguing.
Maybe
he kind of feels like one of those people that will...
Police, he figured would just be a little bit messy, put a little bit more of a...
Yeah, he may know that, yeah, that would perhaps draw the attention of the Empire. Like the Empire has to come down and straighten things up.
Yeah, they're all prepared to brush away the murder of someone that the chief of police basically said was a bit of a scumbag anyway.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah... I think you can expect that in there, you're going to get a little bit stronger repercussions, perhaps.
The leader of the sort of security force reminds me of the sort of character that sort of does what they think is going to earn them a higher position within, sort of, say, in this instance, the Empire. But when they actually do get to that spot, the Empire just like dismisses it or just straight up tosses him aside or lets him be killed or something like that, and they sort of find out that the higher cause that they thought that they were going to get to rise up the ranks of doesn't actually care about them at all. Whether he does actually end up joining the Empire and ends up sort of being a more significant foe for Cassian down the line would be interesting. Much else to do here?
I think we'll clear things up.
I'm just running around slaughtering Sith here.
We've been chatting for a little over an hour, so at this point, we might wrap it up until next week. Well, we'll wrap it next week. This time we will do a post-episode chat, but we may squeeze something in before then.
Yeah.
Another bit of a conversation. We do our podcasts, as of course, where we talk about Star Wars news in general on the SWTOR channel, but we may squeeze just a little bit of another bit of Kino Twitch conversation out, because we might just rambling about Star Wars in general.
Yeah, well, especially if we've had the opportunity to go through and watch these episodes again, have a bit more sort of a thorough watch and a reflection of the details. Now that I've got a better sense, it takes a little bit to sort of let all the characters sink in, and there's always details that you don't catch on the first time, whether you're just absorbing the story and you didn't notice that droid or that detail in the background, or just something about a line of dialogue that stands out to you that you didn't necessarily understand the significance because of something that's going to happen. Nice chatting, and I love your unboxing of Micro Machines. Well done. Well, thank you so much, David.
Yeah, thanks. We actually got at least one more of those coming up. No, two more.
Yeah, we're really enjoying that new range of micro galaxy squadrons. It's a long mouthful. Micro Machines was easier to say. Very keen on that range. Glad to see them in New Zealand. Hopefully we'll see the likes of, I think the Razor Crest is the main one that isn't available in New Zealand yet. Hopefully that one will show up. It would seem odd to get like the line and then just not that one. Hopefully we'll see that one somewhere soon. Or perhaps it will show up at like Farmers as an exclusive or something.
Yeah, it's a retail exclusive in the US.
Yeah.
It's a fun line. Might dwell on it too much here because we'll get, like, say, a couple more videos out, but I do really love the fact that the figures are on scale. I know that you can only be a bit limited when you get down to the tinier vehicles and the figures that go with them, but I've said it before, I just like the idea of my TIE fighters that chasing the Millennium Falcon to be appropriately scaled.
Yeah. And there's just so many iconic vehicles, and they're always adding to it. Once you start a line like this, we have not seen the Falcon in real life at Galaxy's Edge, unfortunately. Yeah. The last time I was in the US was a few months before it opened, and then the pandemic hit, and we haven't had the chance to get back to the US since then. Definitely keen to see that Falcon in real life. That would be very cool. It's one of my favorite ships. Yeah, I'm like with Andor adding new ship designs and stuff like that. Once you launch a product line like this, you almost don't ever have to stop because they'll be continually adding new speeders, new ship designs and stuff like that. I mean, we've got shows like The Bad Batch. We're going to have Ahsoka. We've got Andor adding new ships. They can just, they've got enough to keep them going for many years just with all what's already out there, but they'll be playing catch up. Plus some really cool iconic ones like Land Speeder and Snow Speeder and just all sorts of goodies. But yeah, definitely keen to go watch Andor. Don't know if we'll do it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. It's always exciting to suddenly get your first taste of a new show like this. It really does sort of set the tone and the vibe. But I am very, very keen to get to the Coruscant and the political side of things. We know how important Mon Mothma is for the rebellion, and I was a little bit disappointed we didn't see anything of her in these first 3 episodes, but I know how important it was to kind of really set the story off in motion and introduce us to this specific sort of world. This sort of moment in time in the grander sort of rise of the Empire, the dark times as they call it, and some of the merchandising. So very keen to sort of see where she fits in and what's going on there in terms of the Galactic Senate and how she can sort of be helping the rebellion at that point in time. Plus, as a female fan and as a costumer, I really want to see the interesting outfits. Oh, my guys, why is my guy over here shooting something?
That's interesting.
I was like, I'm in combat. We will see her next, I think. Yeah, I'm hoping that the next episode they'll introduce her. And I understand that, yeah, if you introduce too many characters in too many places, the people that aren't fully entrenched in Star Wars lore will find it a bit overwhelming. So I understand why. Just personally, I'm just very excited to see her because I've always loved the character of Mon Mothma. So I'm very keen to see her. And hopefully it won't be too long before we see like a good amount of merch for this show as well. I think there's going to be some really cool things to come that would translate really well into action figures and things like that. The stuff for Cadomi was a little slow to hit shelves, so hopefully they'll learn a little bit better with Andor and actually get merchandise out there. Yeah. Obi-Wan has only like just recently hit shelves and the show's already finished, so yeah. All in all, I think that was a fabulous start to the series. Certainly sort of hit just the right note, I think, from what we sort of saw in the trailers. That there's enough in the trailers to keep us like intrigued about what's coming up. That there was a lot in the trailers that wasn't in these first 3 episodes. So it's very, intriguing to see where the story's going to go. And how he's gonna get drawn into, as Stellan Skarsgård character, or something like, do you want to fight for something bigger than yourself, or something along those lines. I can't remember how he worded it exactly. He's obviously talking about the Rebel Alliance, and they didn't even get the box. It was left behind. So yeah, I guess maybe the Imperials will catch wind that somebody stole one of those, and how that's local security force isn't exactly doing their job if they're letting locals steal Imperial stuff. Because I dare say we're going to see those Imperials in the next episode. But a week is so long to wait. Any final thoughts?
I think it will be done until next week. But I'm definitely looking forward to watching it again.
Okay. So I guess we'll wrap up there. Thanks to all that came along and listened to us excitedly chat away about these new episodes of Andor. Very keen we will be doing this again next week. Sort of, 5-10 minutes after the episode finishes airing. We'll be here. The sort of replay of these live streams will be available on Twitch to watch in case you just want to hear us chat about things. If you're part of the Star Wars New Zealand Facebook group, there's also a spoiler Facebook group, so you can chat with fellow New Zealand fans about the episodes as they air in a completely sort of spoiler zone. If you're just a sort of person like us that just wants to jump in straight away and start talking about it, that's always fun. David says, it will be a long week. Great to talk. Thanks, guys. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you guys next week, and may the Force be with you.
See you all later.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.